trajectory. I mean, confidence, everything is
You have been
improved.
muted.
So
To
whatever
unmute
it is
yourself,
that they
press the star
did
key
is
twice.
working. And maybe we'll see McMahon get, canned this coming off season as a positional coach. But I was pretty happy with it. Now, there's still a lot I want to see him improve on. I mean, because if you go watch a Ravens game and watch Justin Tucker kick, you're going to want to, drool and pay that guy $10 million a year just because his kicks look amazing. Every time off the boot, he's just phenomenal as a kicker. But, I mean, Lutz has looked so much better the second half of the season, whereas the first half of the season, just about everybody wanted him off the team and hiring, Carney back on.
Exactly. But, I came away impressed with the man simply because of, a lot of the reasons why you just named his trajectory, the accuracy in which he's kicking with, the confidence in which he's kicking with right now. He just seems like a different player, and maybe the Saints have found their kicker for the future, especially if he can continue. He looks a lot different over the last 4 or 5 weeks than he did, during the beginning of the season. So hopefully that continues, and that's one less position they have to worry about. As far as McMahon being canned, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of one of those we'll see. Now, I'll also say this about Lutz, though. He's yet to kick, and he's used to have an attempt past 50 yards in the second half of the season. First half of the season, he went 3 of 7 on 50-plus yarders. Second half, he has yet to kick one that far, but all of his other kicks have been spot on, basically. He's kicking 93% since game 9 till now, whereas games 1 through 8, he was at 72%. So, I mean, we've seen a drastic improvement.
I'm okay with that. As long as he's, trending in the right direction. And when it comes to those 50-plus kicks, I can look at it from a black and gold goggle guy type of, situation. It's the fact that maybe it's a great thing that he's not kicking 50-plus yard kicks. Does that mean the Saints' offense is getting a lot better, or they're getting a lot closer for him, to drive stall?
Oh, yeah. Well, here's with me personally. I feel that unless you've got a kicker like, say, a Janikowski, who's maybe 5 or 6 years younger than he is now, or even 10 years younger, unless you got a kicker who you just feel like is automatic from that 50-yard range, if you've got an offense like the Saints, go for it. Because if you miss, they're going to be in the same position anyway. Might as well try to get the first down and go for 7 instead of, the 30, 40-yarder attempt. I mean, if you get 10 more yards and then you stall again, go ahead. But, I mean, if you're already kicking a 50-yarder, might as well just go for it on 4th down, assuming it's not like 4th and 18, and see what you can get.
Agreed. Completely agree with that, because as you stated, if he tries a 53-yard kick and he misses it, they're going to have great field position either way it goes. So you might as well try for it, push, if you get it, great. If you don't, maybe you draw a penalty and you still get it. And if, all else fails, the worst possible outcome is a turnover, which can be, returned for a touchdown. But other than that, your best chance is either you stall on a drive, or you get a chance to have 2 attempts at a first down. I'd rather take my chances with the stall drive than giving them, field position 13 yards down the field additionally, because that's where you tried to kick from.
I mean, I will say this. I'm also happier with Peyton in the past few weeks. I know we had the flubs against the Lions and not the Rams, but the week after. But I'm going to be honest, maybe it's just because the season's starting to wrap up and my whole hopes of the playoffs have finally 100% been diminished, so I don't have anything to hold on to. Looking back, I'm really not too mad considering what he's been having to work with talent-wise. I'm just going back to that whole thing we've been talking about all year, man. It's 2017 or bust. If they can turn it into something next year, it was worth going through. Hopefully, this coming Sunday will be 8-8. I will gladly take a worst draft pick so that we can beat down the Falcons and put a tarnished taste in their mouth for the closing of that stadium. And I would even accept going 7-9 last year, because I was talking to somebody on Twitter today about this. And I don't think Saints fans are talking about it enough. Bloggers aren't talking about it enough. But let's be honest. We kept Drew Brees, but this team has been in rebuild mode for about 3 years. I mean, because contenders, like if you are the New England Patriots, you're not trading away a Jimmy Graham. They don't trade away Gronkowski. I mean, you're not trading away even a Kenny Stills, probably, a starting wide receiver. Stuff like that we've been doing just really shows to me that the Saints didn't feel like they had to press for to get it this year. And maybe that's because Benson's really not, got his foot on the pedal anymore like he seemed to have in the 2000s, where he just had to get a Super Bowl before he died. So I think they felt like there's a little bit more time to work with. The only drawback to that is you're really putting Drew in a tough spot because he's a quarterback who deserves more than one ring. And hopefully he'll get one 2017, 2018, but it's kind of an unknown. But that all being said, I'm not too upset at the whole, rebuilding mode now that I'm able to look back and see all the little pieces that are starting to come together. So it's a lot of reason for optimism.
Completely agree with you. And I think the problem is not necessarily that you or I didn't see it like that, because, even when we started the show once again and doing Who That Confessional, the idea was always, this was never going to be a 10, 11, 12-win Saints team. You and I said that from the beginning. Now, I disagree with anybody who said the Saints would win 4 or 5 games. That was just ridiculous to me, simply because of the idea of, although 7-9 is not much better than 6-10, I get that. 8-8 is not much better than 6-10. I understand that. But Sean Payton has never not won at least 7 games. So I didn't expect that trend to discontinue this year. I didn't expect him to lose 6 games. To win only 6 games. However, I think the problem that comes in is that it's different if anybody in the Saints organization were to say the word rebuild.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been almost like you've been so, for Saints fans, it's been like they've been sold a fool's gold, because nobody in the organization wanted to say rebuild, even though that was what's taking place. As you said, they took away key offensive components. They let other key components walk. You cut a bunch of guys that you had just given money to. So nobody wanted to say the word rebuild, but it was actually, I think 3 years ago, it could have been said after when Sean Payton came back from the 2012 season, and he had 2013, he got rid of Steve Spagnuolo. It could have been said right then and there. The Saints they weren't in rebuild mode. They were trying to reload. Well, after that season, I think the Saints went into rebuild mode. They understood the team to do it.
I think for me, where I really put us in rebuild is after that 2013 season, where that was, where Rob Ryan came in and we did just great defensively. We made a lot of turnovers, not as many as 2009, but just everything was locked down. But it was reliant on having Jabari Greer and Keenan Lewis healthy. And when Jabari Greer went down, then we had this whole drama with Junior Gillette, as everybody knows how that spilled out the next couple of years. It just seemed to kind of snowball, and the Saints just couldn't couldn't control it. So they basically said, look, screw it. We're just going to hit the refresh button and see what happens. And I'm okay with that. 2013 was an anomaly. I'm not mad about it. If I could go back and be 11-5 and win a road playoff game and all that other stuff, again, I'd love to have that back. But we both know that Rob Ryan, and I'm not a Rob Ryan hater, he just was not in a position to win in New Orleans. He wasn't really given a great opportunity. And even if he was, Rob Ryan has never been a great defensive play caller. He's never been as good as his brother, and he's certainly never been as good as his father. And I'm not hating on him. That's just facts. You go look at his history. That's just who Rob Ryan is. So that one anomaly season after that to me, that 2013, I felt like they treated that like they do this upcoming season as kind of like a last hurrah. they tried to do as much as they could, bring in all they could, and see what they could do, and they did pretty well. But after that, you see, Pierre Thomas is now gone after that. Junior Gillette soon is gone. Then Jabari Greer was done because of injury. Keenan Lewis was never really healthy after that. So all that stuff just kind of started piling on. And I just think they had to decide, look, it's better for us to bring in somebody like Jeff Ireland, redo the scouting department, and try to build for the future than to keep going into the same mess where, 7-9, 11-5 next year we're 7-9, because that's what they did in 2006. They may have gone to the NFC Championship game, but then we had 2 straight years of no playoffs, 7-9, 8-8, and the defense was horrible. 2009 changed everything. So, it just seems like they didn't want to go through that pattern again. They decided to just combust, keep Drew Brees, because Drew seems to be a guaranteed by himself 6-7 wins every year. You're just simply not going to lose a ton with Drew Brees at the helm. But with that, they just slowly started building in these pieces And Jeff Ireland, to me, has been the biggest thing that we have signed in maybe the Sean Payton era in terms of the impact he's immediately had when he came in. Because we weren't doing amazing drafts in 2006, 2007, 2008. We had some really good offensive drafts in, but it was schemes by the defense that helped a lot, and then a lot of, carryover from like having Will Smith on the team and just players who were already established and good. And then you had guys like Harper and Jenkins who ended up hitting, and I think that was more luck than anything else. So I'm okay with 2017, depending on how it turns out. If they do 2017, how the last 8 games of this year have gone, they win at least 10 games. But man, that's a big if.
No, I agree with you. I think two things that have been key during the Sean Payton era was when he fired Gary Gibbs and he hired Greg Williams, and when the Saints fired their previous personnel man and hired Jeff Ireland to be the director of scouting. Personally, those are the two moves in the Sean Payton era that could potentially lead to Super Bowls. We already know how the first one turned out.
Yeah.
And now we have the second move, in which I believe it can turn. I mean, you and I discussed this maybe some weeks back. I've always considered that this was going to be the Saints' springboard year. Now it still remains to be seen if they can wrap this up. And I always compared this year to the 2008 season, in which I was like, all they need to do is have a good off season, a respectful off season. They made a few shrewd moves that off season. One of the moves, love him or hate him at this point, was bringing in Darren Sharper. And from that point on, another move that they made was Sean Payton gave up $250,000 that Tom Benson eventually gave him back. But he said, I'll give up $250,000 if you hire Greg Williams. Well, all of the moves that have now been previously made remind me of when the Saints had 2008 going into 2009, and they a total, not even rebuild. It was almost like they came together finally and understood what it was they were supposed to be doing. Offensively, defensively, special teams wise, it was all there for them. This reminds me of that. DA is Greg Williams 2.0. Jeff Ireland is the guy that's going to bring in the talent and help them kind of scout guys who can be that next Darren Sharper to kind of maybe a guy to kind of piece it all together. Maybe that's going to be Jeff Ireland's job, and it may be a vet guy that we didn't even think of, but he's going to come in, make an immediate impact, or it could be a rookie. That's going to make an immediate impact and going to help the Saints get over the hump. Now, of course, the difference between the 2018 going into 2009 and this team is that team already had a few pieces in place that were at key positions. This team doesn't. Delvin Breaux, no matter how much people want to praise him, is still an unknown commodity. He's the best corner you got. Well, unfortunately, there's nobody else besides Delvin Breaux. So you still have to revamp that secondary. And I've seen a lot of people starting to get on the bandwagon. You and I discussed last week. Tremaine Johnson of the Rams could be the key to everything this offseason for the Saints. If they're able to bring him over from from Los Angeles now, bring him over from the Rams and put him with the Saints and pair him with Delvin Breaux and possibly, keep a Sterling Moore to be a nickel corner or somebody like that, maybe, just maybe, they've got that tandem that they need. Let's make no mistake about it. Jabari Greer and Tracy Porter weren't like elite lockdown corners. They were just really good. But what they had was a guy in Darren Sharper who was able to erase some mistakes, and they also had, a good coaching unit who was able to put them in the best position to succeed, and a pass rush. And of course, not only the best friend to a mediocre defense was a great offense. The Saints are one key offensive piece away from being back to where they should be, and they're a few pieces away on defense from being at least middle of the pack.
Really, I think really, because if you look at the Saints, here's been one thing that they've done well this year, and that was our point differential. And this is a lot of stuff that your average fan's not going to look at, so that's why y'all got me. So every year, you have what's called a point differential. So this is how many points you score, how many points you allow, and the difference between that and where you rank in the NFL. Now, the Patriots, who are the standard for every NFL team, consistently are like a top 10 point differential team. They just are. I mean,